It's a wonderful play. It's the most wonderful play I've ever been in, and he wrote it. And I found it. I was directing Ollie in Beverton in the Park, and he showed me this play, and I just thought it was fantastic. It's a thriller. It's called Daytona because something happens on Daytona Beach. But actually it's about a married couple who are in a kind of combative but fairly normal sort of marriage, living in Brooklyn in an apartment, and they're rehearsing for a ballroom, seniors ballroom dancing thing. And she goes out to get her dress for the occasion. They're bickering away. And the brother, who's been missing for 30 years, comes in. 11 o'clock at night, on the run. And what happens then, what transpires, is the fracturing of this fragile relationship, and they're all up against their pasts. So it's a thriller. It's about love, betrayal, anger, retribution, and that's just the first act.
So Oliver, where did the idea for the play come from?
The idea came from I went to, my wife's brother lives in Daytona, and we were there, and I was there when my daughter was about 6, and I'm not going to tell you what happened, but I was lying by a pool in Daytona, looking at a very, very crowded pool, and the idea came to the sort of inciting incident, which I'm not going to tell you, that happens in this play, occurred to me when I was lying by the pool, and I thought, what would happen if this happened? And
A crime.
A crime, and it kind of spiraled from there, really, the idea, and I couldn't get the idea out of my head, and then I started thinking, well, who did what to who, and the idea sort of emerged. That's really how it happened. It happened because I was in Daytona. It could have happened somewhere else. I could have called it, Brixton,
Margate.
but Margate, but it was.
The BBC gave me a documentary about memory called If Memory Serves Me Right. And one of the things they asked me to do was to go and interview actors at a fundraising event about whether they remembered anything before they were 3. It just happened that the fundraising event was at the Park Theatre, the new theatre in Finsbury, and so having met the guy there, I just slipped him Oliver's play. And then we got West End producers, Lee Dean, and we played very successfully at Park Theatre, tiny, with the audience texting right on the front row, and then 7 weeks on tour, wonderfully. We did really well, but the panic was that we wouldn't get a West End theatre, and then I couldn't let this out of my system, this play, I just couldn't. And then suddenly the Haymarket came free, and I'm really sorry for the people who are leaving. I'm not really sorry at all, actually. But I'm so glad that we've got this really beautiful theatre as a frame for Ollie's play. It's wonderful.
So how is it to act in a play that you've written yourself?
Well, it's the first time I've done that, apart from sort of sketches and things like that. I've done a reading of a play I wrote once, which I thought I was rather good in, but no.
A lot of people would disagree.
Yes, a lot of people would disagree with that. But no, it's how is it? The strange thing about it is that we've done a lot of work in rehearsal, and we're still doing work, little cuts, little changes, and actually, what's strange about it is that it. Without sounding too pretentious, I think as a writer and as an actor, you split yourself off. The writing part of me is quite different from the acting part, and if I have to act something I've written, it's as though somebody else has written it. Once, I mean, Maureen will say, "Do you really want that line?" And I'll say, "Yes, I do."
Say about your lines, not mine.
No, never says about your line. No, but you really, or do you? And we'll either cut it or leave it or change it. But once that's happened, and we have a sort of set text, it's just a play. And the acting problems are just the acting problems that there would be in any other play, and you're as good or bad as you would. You know what I mean? It's that sort of.
But John Bow played it at Park Theatre and on tour, but that was ending in November, so he took another job at the RSC and wasn't available, I didn't get another job, so I'm completely available. And it was obvious that Ollie was, would step in. And he's had a few weeks to learn
Try and learn it.
Step into the breach, he's doing brilliantly. But it's for all of us. It's like starting again for the first time. Different reactions.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, I think, is because I was very close to the other production, although I wasn't in it. But now, like with everything in life, when you get a second bash, you can ask the questions that you either didn't ask before or weren't answered before, and even change some things which help. So in that way, it's a nice process.
It's a really difficult play to sell, really difficult, because we can't give away the crime that's committed or the background to why the brother coming back is such a huge tsunami in our lives, because if we do, then there'll be no thriller element to the play. So you keep going on radio programs and coming along here and saying, well, it's about love and betrayal and da-da-da. And what does that mean to anybody? You have to see it to understand the nature of the beast, which is dramatic, funny, and
it is funny.
Yeah,
it is funny.
It's funny. With a bit of ballroom dancing thrown in.
And some ballroom dancing. There was just some ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
We should mention your ballroom dancing partner, the third actor in the play, Mr. Harry Shearer, who people will know from This Is Spinal Tap and The Simpsons.
He's Mr. Burns and 17 other characters in The Simpsons.
How is he to work with?
He's great. He's Harry is from California, but has lived in New York all his life. This place
lives in New Orleans.
He lives in New Orleans now, but he's lived in New York a lot. And this play is set in Brooklyn, so he's very helpful about all those things, any kind of misnomers in the play or things that are not right. And he's wonderful to work with. He's great.
Short. He's still short.
He's short.
Yeah, ballroom dancing, we do look hilarious.
Yeah.
But we ballroom dance in the second act for 1 minute. You have no idea how many steps there are in 1 minute of dancing.
Well, how many hours they've worked on that?
3 hours twice a week on 1 minute of dancing. It's just, and I crawl home. I can't even get to the fridge because I'm so near the floor.
So obviously, Maureen, you've played many, many characters in your career. Where does Ellie rank amongst those?
Do you know, I have never had a part which sort of pushes all the buttons on what I can do. And it never stops entertaining me. I never stop finding new things. She's a great character. She's sweet and sassy and naughty and sexy, if you can believe that, and brave, yeah. And I can just get into her without even having a key. I just know this woman. It's just such a joy.
She's brilliant in this play. I tell you, she's absolutely. No, I mean it seriously. You are. She's brilliant.
Thank you. Which is why it was so hard when I thought it wasn't coming into town. I just thought I can't let this go. I can't. It means too much. So I've got to live up to what I think it deserves. But we're a week away, and I think the last time I slept properly was January.
Now, we mentioned earlier you're playing at the Theatre Royal Haymarket. Maureen, I know you're patron, I've got to get this right, patron of the Theatre Royal Haymarket Masterclass Trust, which looks after theatrical learning opportunities for people aged between 14 and 30. Why is that a cause that's important to you?
Well, there's no real discussion about the craft, even at drama schools. Everybody wants to be famous now. Everybody wants to go on X Factor and be famous, but there's no real discussion out there about what it's like, how to deal with failure, how to deal with success, which is even more difficult than how to deal with failure. What is technique? How do you get a laugh if the directors put you in a place where the audience can't actually see your face? All of these things. I've been doing this for almost 50 years, and I know a lot. And there's no way that I can ever pass that baton on, because if I'm in a rehearsal room, the director, who may be 12 and a half, is going to tell me what's going to get a laugh, and I'm going to, which I spend my life doing now. But to tell kids and to advise, here it is, take it if you want it, don't take it if you don't. I mean, I literally go into drama schools, I have done, and said always travel with an acceptance speech in your pocket. Because I think it is so appalling the way that people receive awards and get up there and go, oh, I wasn't expecting it, oh Christ, I shouldn't have had that second vodka. You know, I think there's a grace that is not taught anymore, which, as technique is not taught anymore. Peter Barkworth used to teach technique at RADA. And so, you know, I honestly believe it's not difficult for us. It's a joy to go out there and talk to young people and say, you know, well, just be aware that when you go and find an agent, that agent may not be looking after you. You're paying him to look after you, but actually he's serving you. So you should be able to say, I want you to look into that, I want you to look into that, I want you to try and get me onto that episode of Casualty. You know, nobody does that in my business, but, you know, it's possible. That's how careers thrive, isn't it, Al?
It is, absolutely. Yeah, it is.
Do you think it is more different and possibly more difficult than when you started out?
I think it's changed enormously. I mean, when we started out, for a start, the whole theatre scene was different. Every single town in this country had a theatre and had a company, and they did a different play either every week or every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. And as somebody who left drama school or went into the profession in those days, if you were lucky enough to get into one of those companies, you would then have a year's work or 6 months' work playing all kinds of different things. Small parts, big parts, old parts, young, all kinds of different things, and you learned a great deal. Now there's nothing like that.
We're so oversubscribed.
Yeah, we're so oversubscribed.
When we started out, there were 5 drama schools, and now there must be 105.
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody's out there looking for the same,
well,
and it was always 80% unemployed, this
95% unemployment.
No, now.
Oh, so now,
yeah, but
okay,
it was,
yeah.
So imagine with all those people. And, you know, frankly, when we got this gig at the Haymarket, I had a lot of speeches and things in my diary, which, you know, I couldn't get rid of because it was beyond the 6-week clause when I could pull out. So, and you know, I had to go to Liverpool and do a speech, and it's interesting that, you know, I've been doing it for a long time, but to that speech, to get the money that I would earn for that, would have taken 17 weeks' work at the park. So you don't work that out, but can you imagine that situation? So you've got to do the extraneous things, kids. Kids have got to do the work that, you know, you've got to do commercials, you've got to do crap television, because they're the only, you know, I mean, apart
if you can get it.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. But that's you say how things changed. You know, that's in our profession. How there's just many more people in our profession, and it's tightened up enormously. And the place where kids learn now is on the fringe, you know, which is great.
For no money.
For no money, but always for no money. You know, when we came out, I worked at the National Theatre for a few quid a week, and you know, playing tiny parts, but you were paid.
Yeah.
And now
£29 a week. I did too at the
I
old
got 17 quid a week. Yeah,
you got 17. I was better than you.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years with Sir Laurence Olivier's company. So I witnessed the best acting I've ever seen in my life.
Me too. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's in your guts for the rest of your career. Is watching really good people doing wonderful work, and also a company of 56, all, you know, in the same canteen, standing next to Sir Laurence and Colin Blakely and Maggie Smith and Geraldine McEwen in the queue. You can't, you know, I still can't talk to Maggie Smith because I'm so in awe of her.
Yeah.